days before the internet fully existed in that sense, where you could just go get a walkthrough, and you had to like
Everything's
talk
just
to
cut
your.
off, by the way.
Oh no way!
Uh-oh. Timeout. We're still broadcasting, so people might just be hitting some rough times. Hold on, let me get it a second.
Sorry, I didn't mean to throw a spanner in, but
No,
I
you're
just
fine.
watched the feed go down.
Oh,
and
really?
everybody's commenting, yeah, it's gone.
There they are. Okay.
And we're back.
And we're back.
And we're back. And I was in the middle of a classic Rory rant about God knows what now.
Well, at least your controller didn't die.
Exactly. Bottom line is, I was agreeing with Sean. Great reveal. Loved what they did, and I love the way that the game gave you nothing, and it did go back to that sort of old school way of everybody just having to play it and share with each other. It reminded me of stuff like on the schoolyard back in the day. I hope the final game is something like that, where before all the Wikipedias and the guides and everything's up, it becomes this event where people are playing it and sharing and pooling it. And that was the coolest thing to watch when that gameplay was getting played online.
Yeah, that's the Minecraft effect that they're trying to shoot for, right? Where the crowdsourcing of trying to figure out this thing, what is this? What are the features here? What are we trying to get at? And then for that to turn out to be an announcement for, such a big franchise like Silent Hill, that was just perfect timing. I was gonna say that if there are people in like the modern day version of Mad Men like hanging out in their office and they saw that happen, I'm sure they were all just like, "What? Wait a minute." Yeah, they were just like, "What? How come none of us have figured this out yet? Like, how come nobody's done this yet?"
Totally. Merritt in the chat right now is saying PT was brilliant for an hour, but then became frustrating and unenjoyable.
Because it just keeps repeating. That was their point.
It does,
yeah.
And that's what I witnessed on Twitch. That's why I thought it was such a great thing, because people were kind of getting frustrated and stuck, and then everybody was helping out. Like other people were jumping in and playing the game, and then jumping into the Twitch and like helping each other through the experience. And if you didn't have that sort of connection and people to share that with, it probably would be frustrating. But otherwise, it looked awesome.
Okay, so my view count's 0, so I want to kind of give this a second to see if people can catch up or if there's just a server feed issue or something. Because right now, it's on my side, XSplit showing that I'm still streaming. I've got a bit rate and everything. So
on my computer, it says we're live still, and I can chat with people in line. But
I think on the archive, we'll still be able to catch all this, and I'll just cut out the parts where we're trying to figure out what's going on. But I think this is still recording, so if it's all right with everybody, I'd like to just continue the show like it's all good.
Yeah, we're all still here, right? Is Marcus still with us?
Yeah. I think so.
I'm still here.
Yeah. All right. Here, yeah, I'm going to let everybody know. Just everybody try to refresh. All right, well, I'm going to quickly just run through whatever I played this week, and then we can talk about some news and see what's going on.
Oh, yeah, I forgot I totally derailed your what you playing.
You totally did, but that's all good.
I did.
Man.
Why didn't you speak up like 10 minutes ago?
It's all good, dude. I played some Halo 3, some Halo 4. I'm going back and refinishing BioShock. Played some Titanfall with Rory. And some GTA 5, and some GTA Online, and all that stuff with the Rated M clan. But yesterday, I was at a LAN party, a Halo, like a good old-fashioned Halo LAN party all day yesterday with my buddies at Halo Fan for Life, and that was great. That was just I'm a huge Halo fan, Marcus, and I haven't had an experience like that since like 2004. So this was a lot of fun. I'm really trying to get back into the Halo community in general, and to be able to get together with a bunch of guys that I've never met in person before, but we've been communicating for weeks and months online. That was a blast. So that was the highlight of the week.
Said he got kicked.
What?
Is he still? But he shows up in my
man, what is up with the internet these days? I swear.
I think it was Skype. I'm actually back now. It auto called me back, which is great. Because
that's cool. Yeah.
Oh, Shiza, I've been kicked off. Perhaps they didn't like my Yoda impersonation.
No way. I was honestly thinking, I'm a huge Star Wars fan. I was actually like, that is an awesome Yoda impression.
Awesome.
Thank you, I will.
Woo!
Well, so I think everybody in the chat got us back, so thanks for sticking with us, guys. We're just gonna roll. We finished what you're playing. You didn't miss too much. We're gonna roll into news and just keep this thing going. So, Gamescom happened this week, guys. Did you know that?
What's Gamescom?
It's like them foreigners trying to copy our E3.
It's German E3.
Yes, come on.
But better, right?
It's E3, and about 20 minutes in, they invade Poland.
Yeah,
and it's huge. It's like what are the numbers these days?
I heard like
300,000 or something. Like
that's nuts, man. That's like 6 times the amount of E3 goers. I've heard it's just utter chaos and not really the most enjoyable experience as far as like getting shuffled through all the people and stuff. Marcus, what's your impression of the amount of people that show up to Gamescom?
I think Gamescom's an interesting model that we could look at doing here. I mean, obviously we've got the PAXs or PAXi or PAXers, however
like
you want to, what's the the multiples of PAX. But they have the business days, they have the preview days, and then they go to the public days. And I think that's interesting. And that's a good way to get people in and get more people through the door and improve the added value for the publishers who are at the end of a very long slog, having done E3 and Comic-Con and PAX East, and now they have PAX, PAX Prime, and then they have TGS.
They have PAX South now, don't they? Now?
Oh, there's Australia as well, isn't
there?
there?
No,
PAX
I'm saying
Australia.
isn't there one going to Texas now also?
Oh,
yeah.
God, really?
Yeah, it's like in Austin or Dallas or something.
But no, I think Gamescom's obviously, I make pithy jokes and stuff, but it's needed. I mean, Europe is the one of the biggest markets out there for video games. The top two are the US and Europe. That's it. So they need to be serviced.
Yeah, and I mean, I think in the last few years, the big deal with Gamescom is it has essentially eclipsed TGS as far as the non-American big game show, and it's gone above and beyond what I think TGS ever was, as far as I know. It's definitely a big deal out there.
I'm trying to think who gets the bigger game announcements though. Does TGS still kind of throw bigger reveals out?
Not
than
last
Gamescom?
year.
No.
TGS, and TGS used to be, it used to be the jewel in the crown. I mean, it used to be the one that everybody would save up for, and Sony and Nintendo would, Sony in particular would come, and Square Enix would come, and there'd be great unveils and stuff. But I think it's a sign of the stagnation of the Japanese games market. And for this, I'm going to get reamed online by the Japanese Defense Force, who think I am a racist. But there are a lot of people who are who in the Japanese industry who's turned around and said, "Look, we are stagnating. We need to adapt and move forward."
Well, it's their market, right? Their market just doesn't care about a lot of what
they've
games
moved on to
development
mobile
is today. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I read a lot of reports from like Kotaku and Polygon and everybody that went to TGS over the last couple of years, and they were super depressing. They were like, "Yeah, so this handful of mobile games takes up like 3/4 of the show space, and then you have like a Metal Gear Solid trailer looping on a like random monitor in the corner." And you're like, "What the hell is going on here? This doesn't make any sense." And they're just in a different place. The market itself is in a different place, right?
I guess, and more so than ever, the numbers just show it with PS4 launch too, right? Like it's dominating right now in most places. But Japan, even though it's selling, it's not selling very well, even in its home country.
They're just not. It's not a priority for them. And
there's also not a lot of games on the system.
Yeah, especially for their market, right? You're right.
That's what I'm saying. So.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't know. Killzone, Knack, and a lot of those launch games probably don't really hit it off with the Japanese market. So we'll see. Maybe when Silent Hills and Phantom Pain and stuff like that are more prevalent, maybe it'll kind of catch up.
I think Sony have made a smart decision from the get-go with PS4. They built it with a Western audience in mind because, again, with all due respect to Japan, that did build and create some of the most amazing games of the 80s, 90s, and early 2000s. But they have been kind of left behind, and people have taken the torch on and evolved those games. So you build the PS4 from a Western perspective, and you get the support for it, and then you see the PS4 is now selling 3-1 over the Xbox.
Yep.
And they're getting rewarded for that, and they've basically done the total flip of what the PS3 launch was, when the PS3 launch was predominantly catered to a Japanese launch, and it had the cell processors and the tech, and it was all the Japanese exclusives. And they've evolved, and they're reaping the benefits of that. And I think a lot of people, a lot of Eastern companies can take on board what Sony is doing. I mean, I'm looking at Square Enix. I'm looking at Capcom in particular. I mean, they can look at what these guys are doing and say, you know what? Maybe we don't need to churn out Resident Evil 65. That's just a stupid version of Resident Evil. Maybe we can evolve this and make it the best of both worlds.
I think it's interesting.
And that they are remastering the original Resident Evil
remaster
again.
The remaster.
Yeah, but now we're getting it in HD. I'm excited about that. We haven't had an HD version of that game properly, man, and that GameCube version was great, so I'm stoked.
Well, what I was going to mention, I want to see what Marcus's take on this is, and then we can move on to the actual Gamescom news. But I felt like the biggest danger that no one's really talking about, or I don't know if everybody's aware of, is a lot of these lofty developers that we all remember how great the games were that they made back in the 80s and the 90s and stuff like that, and in particular Nintendo. The danger there is the fact that there are game developers now that are making really great games that grew up on those games, so they know the secret sauce. They know what makes a game like that feel good. They know how to make a Mega Man. They know how to make a Mario. And when they start doing that, and you don't have anything to combat that or rebut, someone basically doing what you did but better because they've learned from you and now they're in a position to make such a good game. What are you going to do? What are you going to do as Konami or Capcom or Bandai Namco or whatever when people start outdoing you at what you did the best 20 years ago?
You look at what they're doing and top that. You look at it as a challenge. You look at it as, we got to our perch, we got a little bit complacent, and we can't keep on doing the same thing over and over because people are sick of that. So what can we take from the people who are doing our stuff better? How can we evolve it? How can we take it off in a different direction? How can we reclaim it? And there's enough talent in the Japanese games industry, but I think the problem is this monumental fear of failure and a lot of pride that
the pride was the word that I was going to throw out.
Yeah, there's justifiably. I mean, Japan helped create the current games industry with Sega and Nintendo in the 80s and 90s. But now they need to go, all right, let's swallow some of that pride and let's learn from everybody else and let's come back stronger. And I think the corporate mentality is what's holding Japan back. And I've said this about Nintendo in particular, and it gets me a bunch of ass kickings. But I'm sorry, when Bravely Default is heralded as a great title and, Nintendo's putting that out and he's going, well, that's an example of Nintendo doing it right. How many people go out there and buy a copy of a game called Bravely fucking Default?
Yeah.
Yes, I would really like to buy a copy of Random Tochis.
But would you like this Final Fantasy game? No, that's garbage. I'd like the Random Chochis game, please. All right, so why don't we get into some of these news topics? I can kick it off since I was just talking about Halo, and the first thing that we have on the list is the Halo channel. And then maybe one of you guys pick one of the other things, and I'll just toss it over to you. I think this Halo channel announcement is pretty rad. If you don't know what the Halo channel is, it's essentially what they tried to do with Halo Waypoint on the 360, but just better and implemented, from what we can tell from the way they're showing it off, in a much cleaner and more sophisticated way that definitely utilizes the Xbox One's connectivity in a way that the 360 can never really operate on because of the way that they developed it from the start. But I like a lot of the points that are coming out of the Halo channel, where they're going to use it to highlight their weekly updates and make that into a video form and stuff like that, and really give just like a location for anyone and everyone who's hardcore into Halo to kind of come hang out on their Xbox instead of going to a website or going to community or something off the box. You can kind of get together on the box, and it brings people a unique content feed that it's just all about this game, and it's all this own little world for this game. I think that's really rad.
It is, and Drew, you say like for the hardcore Halo player, it's a great place, but you know what? I could see this becoming a place that creates a whole new generation of hardcore Halo players.
I would agree. I would absolutely agree.
You know, I dabble in Halo a little bit, and I've played the campaigns. I mostly like to build stuff in Forge as opposed to playing the multiplayer myself.
Yeah.
But you know, one of your questions on the script was like, where would you be watching Halo Nightfall? And I'm jumping the gun a bit here, but it's just in relation to that Halo channel in general. Like, I'll probably watch it within the channel, and I like that it's this community where it's like, okay, I'm watching an episode. That episode was fucking epic. Now I'm kind of in the mood for Halo. I'm going to dabble and play some Halo here, or I'm going to check out this awesome Twitch integration there. And I just see it building people that were kind of semi-interested in Halo. Maybe those people, maybe the point is that those people wouldn't be there to begin with, but I'm not sure, man. I could just, like, for me, for example, I think it's going to make me a bigger Halo fan if the content provided within is great. Because I could just see myself watching an episode of the show, and like I say, and then be like, I'm in the mood. That was kick-ass. I'm going to play some Halo, or I'm going to watch Twitch, etc.
You can launch the Master Chief Collection directly from the Halo channel.
It's all in there. So if I go into there first, and the content provided within is great, I could see myself getting lost in there for quite a while.
Yeah. So the thing that I wanted to pose to you, because I know you guys aren't all super Halo, so we don't have to really dig into this too much, but the thing that I wanted to pose to you is, what other game would you like to see kind of do something like this on a console? So Marcus, I'd like to hear like what you'd like to see. Would you like to see a Diablo channel, or like like if they go all in and start moving things to console more than just Diablo, what if there's a Blizzard channel or something? Like, would that be something cool and interesting to you, or is this a little too much?
Look, I play my games. I put them in the console. I install them on my PC. I play games for a reason, because I want to be immersed in that world. I want to get into that world. I want to interact in it. I don't want to watch a bunch of other people playing it. I don't want to watch a bunch of people talking about it. I don't want to see a bunch of other things. I get into games because they're interactive, and they're the evolution of the cinema and the storybook, all the stuff I grew up watching and reading. So for me, the news of a Halo channel is less concerning than the fact that my cocktail cup is now empty.
So that is a problem.
I mean, look, it's honestly, I don't mean to be pithy about it, but I know a lot of people are immersed into, Halo lore, and as they are in World of Warcraft and Diablo and Borderlands and whatever game you name to mention, you care to mention. But I really, it's great added value for the hardcores, but I just want to play the game.
Okay.
Give me the frigging game. Anything else is let others go for it.
Yeah, and that's the thing, where it's gonna be pick and choose per person and what they get out of it. But for me, being somebody that likes to jump into matches, so be it, from the show, like you were saying, Drew, it's like the self-contained, everything is in there, and what better way to be immersed in the Halo world itself, and maybe not just the game, than jump into that channel. And one thing that I picked out of watching the trailer a couple times that I thought was cool, but it's not confirmed, I just got the impression that during the broadcast on the Twitch integration, at the bottom of the screen, it also showed at the same time each player on each team, right?
Yep.
So, and then if you look in the Twitch chat on the side, somebody says like, hey, is anybody else watching so-and-so's feed? Because he's doing some crazy shit.
Yep.
And now he might just be doing the big workaround and watching it on a different channel altogether, and then logged into another Twitch channel where he's keeping chat with what we saw. Or what you're able to do in that constant Twitch chat is just click on somebody's name down on the bottom, and if they're broadcasting, it just switches their video up. And if that's the case, that is awesome. And it's not for everybody, but that's really fucking slick integration.
That simulcast stuff, I think, is the next iteration of what we're going to see with broadcasting as it kind of grows and becomes more and more of a regular thing. Being able to, first of all, being able to broadcast from multiple things in sync is a big challenge right now, and that's something that I actually just heard on the way home today that I guess Elgato is working on, to try to like sync up multiple feeds. But on the receiving end, like what you're suggesting, where you can just kind of click like, oh, well, these guys are a team, and I want to see each team's, each person's feed and just jump around and see it in real time. I think that is something that we'll probably get. I don't know if it would be built into this, but I do think that's something that is a feature that we're going to see eventually. Sean, What kind of
Yes.
what if there's a game or a franchise out there that could have a channel, what would you pick?
I'm kind of with Marcus on this. I don't watch Twitch streams. I don't watch Let's Plays. It's just not my thing. I'd rather play the game myself. I don't mind talking about a game. I don't mind listening to podcasts and talk about a game, but that's kind of stuff I do when I'm away from my
Because you
consoles
can't play a
and
game
stuff
at the
like
moment,
that.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I don't, and just I don't know. As much I like, everyone knows like I love Uncharted, but I don't really care to watch people play Uncharted. You know what I mean? Like, or if there's a TV show of Uncharted or whatever the case may be, it's not really. This is clearly not designed for me. You know what I mean?
Right.
So I don't begrudge anybody having this. It's awesome for fans if you're really into it, but I would just rather play.
Okay. Well, Sean, since we're on you, why don't you pick one of the next news topics and let's dive into it.
So, you may have heard that during the Microsoft press conference, they announced exclusivity for the sequel to my favorite game of last year, Tomb Raider. And
Mushroom Cloud.
The internet went on fire.
Hell, you say?
On fire.
Because everyone was so
And-
excited and happy for this?
No. And here's the thing. Like, I understand. I think third-party exclusives suck. I think it's shutting off a whole group of people for a game that's not first-party is bad. I think it's shitty when anybody does it. And I'm not talking about like something like Bloodborne where it's a third-party developer basically being funded and published by them.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like Bloodborne is going to be a Sony property, just like Demon Souls was.
Right. Which is why
But-
it's not Dark Souls 3.
Yeah, but with Titanfall and to a lesser extent Titanfall because it was a new IP. But for Tomb Raider, they just successfully relaunched the franchise. Some people love it. I was one of those people. Some people, more purist. The thing is, I've always been a Tomb Raider fan since the PlayStation 1 days, so I don't have a problem with the changes they made. I had fun playing the game. It was a great game, but so did a lot of other people on all platforms. So now, for whatever length of time, there's people that can't play this game when it comes out, and that's awesome for Xbox fans. And I own an Xbox. I'm getting the game day one. But I do feel the sympathy for the people who are being completely shut out of the entire game.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, when you make an announcement like that, it's going to piss off a lot of people. We all know now, with the internet,
they were ready to piss him off too. They had that statement out immediately after they announced it. So
that is
they knew it was
the
gonna
most
happen.
insulting thing, more than anything. That fucking press release was the most insulting thing I've ever read.
Yeah.
It's like, hey, we didn't forget about you, PlayStation guys and PC
We
guys.
just don't fucking care.
you have this little downloadable title that's coming out, and you have the definitive edition, which we released back in February. So you get
You're
Tomb Raider,
welcome.
right?
You get
Well,
two games, guys.
What that press release reminded me of was when Don Matrick was like, "Oh wait, we have a console for those of
That's
you
right.
that aren't connected to the internet. It's called the Xbox
Yeah.
360."
All you soldiers out
Like,
there in Afghanistan can enjoy your 360 with the Red Ring of Death and
Did they
For the
really
record,
think
I'm all
people
for
were gonna-
exclusives.
Oh no, I'm just teasing.
Did they come for? Did they think people were going to come to that post and be like raging mad, and then see that line and be like, "Oh, okay, we're
Oh,
cool
okay,
now."
great. All right. As
Like-
long as they got some other game like a consolation prize for us. Well, I'm all right with this now. So Marcus, everyone in the chat's waiting to hear your thoughts on this.
Okay,
Release
so
the Kraken.
I know a lot of people are pissed at Microsoft about this, and to those people I say, readjust your fucking anger. If you want to get angry at anybody, well, pick the company that starts with the word Square and fucking Enix, because they're the ones who went to Microsoft and said, "Hey, we want to make this exclusive. How much will you pay us?" It's not a case of Microsoft going around every single publisher out there saying, "Hey, look, we have a big truck full of cash here. What can we buy off you?" It's not like they're the the scrap iron guy. going around door to door saying, hey, look, you got an old shed at the back with a tin roof. I'll buy that off you for $5. No, it's a case of Square Enix. This is the Square Enix, of course, that complained last year that Tomb Raider didn't make a fucking profit as fast as they expected. And this is the same Square Enix that for the last 5 years has been pissing away money left, right, and center on the latest bunch of Final Fantasy wank cinematics.
Yep.
The fact that Tomb Raider last year by Crystal Dynamics was a brilliant game, one of my top 5 games of the year, and a great reinvention of a very tired franchise, was something that I really loved. I loved that that it got brought back. And the problem is that Crystal Dynamics, or Square Enix Montreal, if you want to call them that, they are a good bunch of people. They have some good shit coming out. Thief was a little bit dodgy. I liked Deus Ex a lot. I liked The Last Hitman. In fact, as far as I'm concerned, Crystal Dynamics is the only thing that's keeping my interest in anything that Square Enix does. Square Enix is one of these companies that's stuck in 2004.
So hard.
They need to stop with the Final Fantasy bullshit. They need to stop with games that are 35 hours of cinematic and 3 hours of the repeated, same, tired, trite shit. And actually go and say, you know what, we're going to fund stuff and we're going to get it out there. Square Enix are the ones who shat on the Sony gamer this week. They're the ones who turned around to their fan base who, let's face it, Square Enix, through Final Fantasy, most of your fan base are Sony, whether it be PS1, PS2, or PS3.
Well, what about those iOS people with the best Final Fantasy game to release of all time? The one where you just slide your finger up and down the screen?
I'm sorry, I don't consider
product,
iOS a gaming. iOS is not a gaming platform.
Yeah.
But no, look. I mean, this is the thing. Tomb Raider debuted on the PS1. Tomb Raider was synonymous with PlayStation. It's not Microsoft who are to blame. They had an opportunity and they took it because they don't have enough quality exclusives in their eyes, and they've got a timed exclusive and they're going for it. Sony said, you know what, we're going to pass on it. Good luck to you. The ones who fucked everybody over here is Square Enix. And those are the ones who deserve the bile, not Microsoft. And anybody who's going, oh, Microsoft sucks, Sony rules. You know what? You need to fucking readjust your attitude and point it in the direction of Square Enix towers.
Yeah.
I agree.
And
I feel, like I said, like back to what I was saying about that press release, I don't think Crystal Dynamics were the ones who wrote that up.
Oh, hell no.
You know what I mean?
No.
I feel like they were told to put that up. And I would love to be that guy being like, when he hit the execute button to like fucking post it, it was just like, like he knew.
Yeah, he had a gun. He had a gunblade. He had a gunblade to his head.
There was the worst thing he ever had to do in his life. It was just like,
All the Bravest. I just remembered the name of that horrible, horrible Final Fantasy game. Worst mobile game of all time. It's just unbelievable. The only good thing to come out of Square Enix that wasn't Crystal Dynamics related in the last couple of years has to be the Final Fantasy XIV Realm Reborn. And even that was them fixing something that they fucked up years ago. Which, why? Why do that? Like, why not make something good?
That's the funny thing. The Realm Reborn is why they laid all their financials at the feet of Tomb Raider, Sleeping Dogs, and fucking Hitman. It's like they expected all their third-party studios to make up for them fucking shoving money into rebooting this fucking, I don't know, like, money pit. And then
it's just a giant fan service MMO. I mean, it doesn't do anything special, right?
I don't know. I don't play it. I don't play MMOs. But the thing is, when you see a game that sells 3.4 million copies in less than a month, and they have the nerve to turn it was a disappointment, like, you can get fucked.
Yeah, I agree. All right. So, any last words on Tomb Raider? The best part about our show being on Sundays is, like, everyone's already had a hit. We just come in for the killing blow and then we move on.
Totally. I will just say one thing with the Tomb Raider thing, just before we wrap up, though, because I haven't had a chance to voice that. Like, I'm personally a fan of exclusives, and like, I don't care if you're paying developers that you technically own under your umbrella of first-party studios, or if you're paying a third party for it. And it sucks in this case because you rarely see like something that was on all consoles then narrowed down, except in the case of something like Bayonetta 2, obviously, which wouldn't have happened without Nintendo stepping in. But the reality is, like, I grew up with third-party exclusives. It's only, like, with the last, like, maybe couple console generations where it's become sort of passé and this thing that you don't see very often, and they're very rare. So this seems crazy. but I grew up with that stuff all the time. Turtles in Time wasn't on the Super Genesis. I had to get some crazy shitty version of that without all the stuff. I'm just saying. EA
you bring up
had a
Turtles
big.
in Time.
I am. I'm just saying. I'm going way back. This is like I'm just saying that I grew up with third-party exclusives, and because it's not a big thing now, it just doesn't bother me. I think it's a huge score for Microsoft, even if it is timed. It's going to go head to head, right? So now we've got 2015 Sony PlayStation exclusive Uncharted 4, Microsoft Holiday 2015 going head to head with that. They've got their exclusive in Tomb Raider, and it is a timed thing. But is it a year? Is it 6 months? Phil Spencer said it was like the deal that they had with Dead Rising and Rise. So does that mean it's coming to PC and PS4 is completely out on it? We don't know. But I just want to state my opinion that I'm personally for exclusives. It's part of what drives competition. It sucks sometimes. In this case, it really sucks if it never comes to PS4 for those that only own a PS4. But at the end of the day, if you want to play all the good exclusives, it's expensive hobby that we're in. Buy both consoles. Exclusives drive competition, and in this case, I get it. I understand the frustration, but I'm all for it, man. I think it's a great score for Microsoft.
But see, now this is the funny thing. Like, and I gotta say this, I don't feel like you would feel this enthusiastic about it if you had bought PS4 first and were waiting on Xbox.
Well, no, I wouldn't be as enthusiastic about it. But I would understand,
that's exactly my point, and that's.
But I would still. But I would. No, but the reality is I'm not just a Microsoft fan. I've always owned all consoles. I just happen to go with Microsoft first because they're dominating in my taste of a lineup, right? So I pick up my PlayStation probably in September for Destiny. I've got them both, as I always have. I buy these consoles individually for their exclusives. I'm just saying, in the grand scheme of things, yes, maybe it's a little bit more exciting just in the heat of the moment because I've got the Xbox, not the PlayStation. But the reality is, by the time Tomb Raider comes out, I'm going to have them both. And I'm still just as enthusiastic for Microsoft as a game maker to have, at least even if only timed, their opportunity to aggressively go up against Uncharted and have a cool exclusive in that sense.
So I'm an Xbox guy, not just because, I have some allegiance to a corporation or anything dumb like that. I've just preferred Xbox over the last few years, and I've gotten really comfy with the controller. And as a Halo guy, it's always a thing that I have to buy, so I can get my Halo fix every year or whatever. But I love what Sony's doing this time around. The PlayStation 4 is fantastic, and they're really rocking on all cylinders. Losing Tomb Raider for a year, or just for this entry, or anything like that, is not going to do anything for that momentum. It's still going to be up. I think it just irks a lot of people, and I agree that those people who are irked have every right to be irked. But as an Xbox gamer, I'm like, oh, we get Tomb Raider exclusively? That's weird, because we would have gotten it anyways. So this, like, it's all a pure.
It's all a holiday 2015 marketing push. Like,
no, I know, I understand that.
Lining up for 2 years of holidays, and they're ready for it, and that's all it comes down to. Like, Sony fans will probably get it at some point with a
I agree. I hope they do.
Definitely going to get it.
But here's the thing, though. Like, and this has not take away Microsoft and take away Sony, and just think about Crystal Dynamics for a second. Is this going to help that game? Because traditionally, a timed exclusive like that doesn't sell that well. BioShock didn't sell nearly as well on the PS3 as it did on the Xbox 360, and same thing with Mass Effect. When that finally came, Mass Effect 2 did well, but that was already established as a
but what's the offset? Maybe Marcus can chime in. It's sort of just like a ballpark number at, like, what kind of money needs to be spent to make those sort of deals worthwhile for the parties. Like we saw with Titanfall coming out, Titanfall 2, it will probably hit PS4 and all that. But, like, with Tomb Raider specifically being a timed exclusive, what sort of money potentially needs to get thrown towards the publisher to make up for the lost sales on the other side?
Well, that's a tough one, because I don't know the exact details of what's going on in there. I just know that Microsoft have thrown a lot of money at it. But let's answer this question, or ask this question. How many boxes of Xbox Ones will Tomb Raider sell?
Not much, in my opinion.
Not as much as, like, even like the Halo Master Chief Collection would, of course, or maybe a new Gears
Sunset
of War.
And all that other stuff.
I think I think
it's low on the list of games that will sell an Xbox next year.
It is, but Square Enix, like, even if it turns out to be a dumb decision, they're probably looking, I mean, they're a business, they're looking at the money side, and they're probably just solely looking at, well, listen, like, if PlayStation gamers and not a lot of people, it's an expensive hobby, and not a lot of people can get, like, multiple games per month, and so they might be looking at it, well, PS4 owners, if they can only choose, they're going to pick Uncharted over Tomb Raider, as great as Tomb Raider fucking was, because it was a great game, whereas Xbox owners aren't going to have that genre of game quite covered at the holiday, so it's like, they're going to buy Tomb Raider no matter what. Then Square Enix releases Tomb Raider 6 months or so later, whatever it be, to everybody else, and those that are interested in Tomb Raider but would have been busy with Uncharted now pick up Tomb Raider, and maybe it wouldn't have been the massive sales they had right away. Maybe it's a numbers game, man, but the numbers must have been looked at and worked out for both to make it a worthwhile thing for all parties involved, except for Sony.
You're dead right with regards to Microsoft wanted their own Uncharted.
Yeah,
and it's probably a smart thing to say that Uncharted 4, or whatever it's going to be called, will be out next holiday season, and Microsoft now have something that can go against it. There's a reward for their avid fans. It may not sell a bunch of boxes, it may only sell a small amount of boxes, but it's certainly added value for the Xbox gamer, because we all know Microsoft, due to the disaster that was Kinect, are in a bit of a hole. They are lagging behind and they need to pick up. So they need, they do have a phenomenally strong lineup. I mean, this year alone, Sunset Overdrive looks like one of the coolest frigging games going. We know there's a new Halo coming, and then we look into, there's a new Fable coming. And my personal highlight is Crackdown 3. I am so excited for that game. So Microsoft actually have a strong first-party lineup and an exclusive lineup moving forward. Sony also has a particularly strong first-party lineup. So Microsoft are just saying, we're competing. We're offering you something a little different. If you're sick of Nathan Drake, you can come and have Lara Croft. And that's a smart decision by Microsoft. Whether we like, I'm lucky. I have a PS4 and I have an Xbox One. And look, people will say to me, "Oh, I'm on my iPad tweeting to you right now, but I can't afford to buy 2 consoles." I'm like, you just spent $600 on a fucking iPad. Sell the iPad and get another console, because let's face it, those consoles will give you way more entertainment than any friggin' iPad ever will. And I own an iPad.
Yeah. And Marcus, coming from a PR background, that when that Tomb Raider launches in holiday of 2015, even if it is timed, it's going to be promoted as an Xbox One exclusive. Play it this holiday on this. Like, the marketing battle is going to be ridiculous between Uncharted and Tomb Raider. Or sorry, exactly, Uncharted and Tomb Raider.
Yeah, it is, and it's good. Look, we all know that 2015 is the new 2014, because everything has been delayed until next January, February, March, April, May, June, July, and so on. I mean, everything's been moved. I think Microsoft is bracing itself for a bit of a kicking again this holiday season, because we know, for example, let's use Destiny as an example. Destiny, as I mentioned before, is one of the most anticipated games coming out. I mean, it's Bungie, it's Microsoft's former go-to guys, and everybody I know is playing Destiny on the PS4. Activision have hedged their bets. They're like, okay, Destiny can go on the PS4, and Sony are giving them the money, and Call of Duty will again be Xbox, and that's where we'll put our marketing for that one. So for Activision, it's a win-win. But for it's Microsoft are going to struggle a little. Sunset Overdrive is going to do very well, as we know. We know Call of Duty will do well, and we know there's Madden and FIFA on the usual suspects will do well. But apart from that, they don't really have a bunch of major stuff this year.
Nope.
But then next year, we're into ooh boy howdy zone, because both of the let's face it, the big two, because there's the big two and then there's Nintendo in the corner, who I pat on the head and say, "Oh, bless." And that's not gonna endear me to the Nintendo fans. Look, I have three fucking Super Nintendos in my games room. I was playing Super Nintendos when most of you were swimming around your dad's bollocks, all right? I have loved Nintendo
those
for
were
so
good
many
times,
years.
swimming around those bollocks.
Well, I've loved Nintendo for so many years, and I have every right to be pissed off at them, because they need to grow some testicles. But back to Sony and Microsoft. Next year is going to be a ding-dong. Next year is going to be the best year for console gaming probably in the last 5.
Yeah, I can agree with that.
That's what I was saying around the launch of the Xbox One and the PS4. I was like, everybody's looking at next year and at this launch, and they're like, "Well, what's going on with games?" And I'm just trying to tell everybody, like, this E3 is going to be big, but next year is going to be the next 2007 of this generation. I mean, it's going to be the year that we see all the new shit come and all the big hits coming out. I mean, Halo and Uncharted going up next to each other is pretty crazy. Even though they don't even remotely resemble each other, they're on completely opposite consoles and stuff, but the fact that they are kind of going toe-to-toe and everybody's pulling out all the stops since we start the year off with Batman, The Order, and The Witcher. I mean, what the hell? How's the rest of the year gonna look?
By the end of February or March, there's already a handful of like potential Game of the Year nominees, and then it only gets better as we go along too. It's gonna be nuts.
Can I ask you guys a question? Please do me a huge favor. Explain to me why The Order is a Game of Year contender.
Oh, don't look at me. What's your take on it, Sean?
The Order? You know what? Like, you guys, I know I've been accused of being a Sony fanboy every now and again, but that game doesn't excite me at all. Like, I think it looks great, and I think it's neat what they're doing, like the transition between cinematic right into gameplay, but
it's being touted. It's being touted as a big game for the PS4, but for no other reason than the fact that it's a game that is exclusive to the PS4, as far as I can tell.
Well, it is, and the thing is, though, like I've said this before on the podcast,
it's a gorgeous game.
Yeah, but so was Rise. Rise was gorgeous, and it was exclusive to the Xbox One, so it was all we could talk about. But look how that.
Yeah, but the Order to me, and I've said this before, guys, is that like that to me has the potential.
I would agree.
It has the potential to be a mature man's Gears of War in a way. Like,
possibly.
It looks like the gameplay is fairly standard, cover-based shooter and such, but the cinematic sort of like level applied to it, whether or not that qualifies as Game of the Year, I don't know. But like when I
having the Witcher and
stuff,
Batman
like,
there at the beginning,
well, it is.
I'm
looking at the Witcher.
Right?
I'm looking at the Batman. I'm looking at maybe Quantum Break. I thought what they showed at Gamescom was really fucking awesome. And,
Evolve's gonna do well, but I think it'll be the Dishonored of next year. It'll be like a sleeper hit that everybody loves. But
bottom line is the year starts really well, and it's going to end really well too. So it's going to be a good time.
So we're still hanging out in news. Why don't we grab one more thing before we go, and then we can see what's up.
I think we should mention that because of all this Tomb Raider stuff, it overshadowed the Quantum Break gameplay.
It did.
Which followed immediately after, and that was, for the most part, a pretty good looking game.
It was. I had to actually watch the gameplay trailer 3 times. I just had to keep looking at it, and I liked what I saw the first time, but by the time I had watched it 2 or 3 times, I really started to appreciate everything that I was seeing. I kept seeing new things in the demo, and that game looks fucking exciting, man. On all kinds of levels. It looks like Remedy really is doing what they're saying they're going to do and bring the best of everything that they've done in the past to create possibly the ultimate Remedy experience. You can't see it, but I'm using quotations with my fingers.
Oh, I thought you were just trying to do your best Sam Lake impression.
No, that would be horrible. You guys know my impressions are really, really bad.
Yeah, they are.
But it's all going to hinge kind of on what's happening with the TV show a little bit too, right? Because, you know, you can skip it, and we do that all the time. You know, like I play through Metal Gear Solid, and I try my best to get through all the cutscenes, but every now and again I'm just like, and I skip it, and that's what happens. And I'm hoping that with the show being integrated on the disc and we hit these juncture points and we watch the episode, that the episodes are as good of quality as the game was, so that I stay invested and don't want to skip those. Because it sounds really fucking awesome what they're striving for. Whether or not they pull it off, I don't know. But for me, Remedy haven't made a bad game, so I'm staying positive.
Okay.
Quantum Break, looking forward to it.
Bullshit, Alan wakes up.
Marcus, what's your take on Quantum Break
Defiance.
so far? No, what? Wait, what?
Defiance.
The game?
No, I don't know. I don't know if I can see where the comparisons come from, but I don't know.
Look, it's certainly ambitious, but I'm gonna again go back to what I said earlier when you asked about Halo channels and all this fun stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, is it nice that video games are getting TV shows and there's interactive bit, this, that, and the other? Mm-hmm. Yes, it's kind of cool. But until they get to the level of, say, the superhero movies like the Marvel stuff that's being churned out, until then, I'm just going to stick with my games, because I would say 85% of everything that's generated as game tie-in stinks like a 5-week-old diaper, basically.
Yes.
But we're getting a Steven Spielberg Halo show, man. It can't go wrong.
To support what Marcus is saying too, when they showed the first glimpse of the live action show, like the performances weren't great. I didn't think the performances
It was totally
were great.
useless in my opinion. Like they could have just cut that part out and just been like, oh, by the way, there's gonna be some live action stuff.
They totally could, and we saw it all out of context. But the cool thing about the live action stuff, and this is what Sam Lake had sort of revealed in an interview during Gamescom, is that it's not just like it's always the same thing that you're going to see on the show. Like when you play the game for a bit and you play a chapter of the game, then you get to a juncture point in the game where now you're seeing it from the bad guy's point of view, and you make a decision as that bad guy in the game. The decision you make at that juncture point in the game affects what you see in the episode next. So they shot multiple scenes and variations for the episodes themselves. So they're trying not to describe it as like a choose your own adventure thing, but each person's episode is going to be slightly different based on the choices that they made in the game. So they're inherently like connected. It isn't just like, oh, it's a standard episode that it is what it is, and there's only one version of it. Like the game, what happens in the game and the choices that you make at those junction points affect what you see and the outcome within the next episode of the show. So that's what I'm interested in. Whether or not it works, I don't know, but I'm going to just have faith until they prove that it's a mess.
Okay. So, Rory, you haven't picked a news topic yet.
I feel like we've talked about so much of this stuff.
I do
now.
too. It's slimming down.
Let me run it down. We've talked about the Tomb Raider. We've talked about Silent Hills a little bit, in the earlier part of the show. We talked about Sony selling crazy amounts of consoles.
Yes.
Signs of things to come with the Halo channel. I think it's kind of interesting in the sense that I think even now, just with EA Access and PSN or PS Now,
I think this is just the tip of the spear. We're going to have different locations and apps and things on
we
our
talk
consoles,
about,
right?
Everything going digital at some point, and
right.
We're not ready for it. The internet infrastructure is not there for everybody just to take over this thing.
Yeah, we discussed that.
I do think that what we're seeing now with this Halo channel and the PSN, PlayStation Now and EA Access and things like that, I think it demonstrates that companies more so than ever are interested and sort of are experimenting with the idea, and I almost hate to say it, but games as a service as opposed to this product that you buy and you have. Yeah. Right? Because I think there's probably more money in the long run to be made by charging everybody 30, 40, maybe $50 a year to having access to all their titles and such, as opposed to somebody picking up one EA title that they're a fan of every couple years. This way they spend the yearly fee, they get their game that they want, plus they can see other stuff, maybe dabble. Even if they don't play anything else, they pay for 2 years, they get the next game for free in that thing. I don't know. It's a complicated thing, but I think it's just a sign. I do think it is a sign of things to come. Is it going to happen within my era of gaming as a gamer? I'm not sure, but it's going to happen. At some point, we won't be buying these boxes. We'll just buy a TV, and we'll subscribe to a service, and we'll have our controller, and we will play the newest games from Microsoft.
The newest game? I want to play the newest game.
Well, look back to... Well, never mind. We're not going to get into that. But you know what I'm saying.
Well, so...
I do think it is a sign of things to come in the greater grand...
Before we hop off of news altogether and just kind of get in... We're still going to be kicking around Gamescom. I mean, what else are we going to talk about? But I wanted to ask Marcus, there was a distinct lack of two things at... well, among other things. But there was a distinct lack of two things at Gamescom, and that was Vita and Kinect. What's your take on that? Do you think this is it, though?
That was almost a Joker laugh.
Do you think this is it, though, or they're just going to be lingering around for a long time, or how do you see this going? What is this a sign of? What can you read this as?
All right. Well, with regards to Kinect, the last I heard, they took it to a farm upstate, so it could be free.
Oh, okay. To run among its other peripherals, like the dance pad and all that.
It's right. It's mixing with Zunes. It's happy now. It's free.
Oh, good. It's in good company.
So, I'll give my thoughts on this stuff for sure. I want to hear it. I got a comment about all this garbage too. But continue, Marcus.
Yeah.
With regards to the Vita, I don't think Sony knows what the fuck to do with the Vita. The Vita is a killer piece of kit. Unlike the Kinect, which is basically a flawed pile of crap. The Vita is a great piece of kit and really could have been something that was positioned aggressively against the Nintendo 3DS. Unfortunately, Sony, pre-PS4, wouldn't know their ass from their elbow if you drew them a map. And that's still the case today. And you have the Vita that you can plug in to your PS4, and you can remote play, and you can do lots of cool shit, and you can go on the road, and you can stream stuff in, and the games are better quality than perhaps the DS. Yet the DS continues to sell because because Sony doesn't know how to market it. They don't know how to get the price point, and they don't know how to get people to develop for it, because they went with an architecture that was more reminiscent of the PS3. Therefore, they made a total fuck up.
What? But Kevin Spacey played it on House of Cards, man. That should have just popped like thousands out into hands after that. No? Am I wrong?
Marcus nailed it with saying that, they fucked up in basing it off the PS3 in a sense too, because Sony always marketed that thing, and their whole vision for that Vita was that kind of like the PSP beforehand, was that it's a console experience in your hand. And I was just refreshing my memory with some articles tonight, and came across some quotes from Yoshida and those guys at Sony, where it was just like basically people's expectations of graphics and such now that PS4 is out, is sort of influencing their ideas of what a console experience on the Vita is now, and they're not going to be responsible so much for creating first-party exclusives anymore. And the plan is, if you own a Vita and you really want to have that console AAA experience, those experiences are going to have to come from third parties, but then third parties won't create for it because the install base is low. So their backup to that is now, as Marcus said, off play, like remote TV play, or PlayStation Now getting PS3 titles on.
Yeah, I mean, playing Destiny from your bed.
That,
there's novelty there, but
they've come straight out and said that Sony, as a first party, won't really be creating like AAA experiences for the Vita anymore. And if you want that experience, you can get it via PSN Now's PS3 games, or you can do PS4 remote play. Now, as far as Kinect, it's MIA for a bunch of obvious reasons at Gamescom. One, announcing that they just dropped it from the bundles back at E3, and of course they're not going to all of a sudden be like, hey, Kinect. My biggest problem with Microsoft and Kinect is that, and it's still a big viewpoint a lot of gamers out there, is that they look at it as this gaming device. And for me, with Kinect 2.0, I looked at the first Kinect like that when it first launched, and then I had a couple fun experiences, but it was what it was. But with Kinect 2.0, the moment I plugged it in, I never even really thought about this thing as a gaming peripheral.
Yeah, I don't think of mine as that at all.
No,
it's
a great
never play a game
extension
with
to my user interface. And I get some people will never use it, but I love being able to be in the kitchen making something and my TV is a little low, so I just shout out Xbox volume up and my TV turns up. Even if I'm watching Netflix on my PlayStation, for example, oftentimes my Xbox One is on as well. And I can just say that out, and my TV raises its volume. Or I come home from work and I say Xbox on, and it turns on my Xbox. It turns on my TV automatically. It signs me in automatically.
Yeah, but we know all this. We know all this, Rory.
Totally, exactly. That's the thing. That's the problem, is that Microsoft never, to me, since its launch and before launch, really showed the benefits to the UI experience. And
sure.
The Xbox One.
But even if they did, it's not. Even if they do, though, it's not enough for everybody. It's cool and handy because we bought the. Listen,
it's
Rory,
totally
Rory,
not.
Hold on.
Yeah.
If you bought, say you bought a PS4 at launch, and it's September 9th, and you're picking up Destiny, but you're looking at what's coming out at the end of the year, and you're like, man, I'm thinking about an Xbox One. Are you really going to buy that Kinect bundle, or are you going to buy the Sunset Overdrive bundle or the Call of Duty bundle that does not come with the Kinect?
Well, it depends on if I had the experience beforehand or not with the Kinect.
Let's just say you didn't. Let's say you didn't. No.
Well,
let's say you're Joe Schmo at GameStop and you haven't seen a Kinect.
If I was Joe Schmo from GameStop, then I wouldn't know
Canadian
anything about
GameStop,
it. And
so
exactly,
whatever Joe Schmo in Canada means.
So I would probably buy the you know what? I don't think I would, because it's that's a really tough question actually. Now that I'm thinking about it, because it's like asking me to look back on a time when I don't know what I know, in a sense, and that's a tough
what
thing.
I'm getting
I would probably
at is,
go
I think
Kinect
that
less, but the reality is, the people today, now that Kinect is out, and this isn't for everybody, but all my friends that went PS4 first, but are all multi-console guys, they're buying the Xbox One with Kinect because they've seen what it can do.
Where right now, if you go to GameStop or EB or Best Buy or wherever, I think the majority of bundles or majority of Kinect or Xbox Ones you can buy have Kinect with them. That's about to change What do you think,
Oh,
Marcus? Do
totally.
you think they're going to continue shipping out these Kinect bundles, or is that going to be like you're going to have to kind of ask for that because there's going to be so many bundles on the shelves come Black Friday?
Look, the experience you had with Kinect, by the way, is you were one of the few people to have that. I mean, I had an Xbox One the week before launch, and I plugged it in, and I set it up, and I started talking to it, and it wouldn't fucking listen.
Mine's great. I love mine, but
I mean,
I do
we're
recognize that I'm
talking
in a
about the
unique
system.
situation. Yeah.
I was playing Dead Rising 3.
Yeah.
And I paused it to go to the fridge and get a beer because I like a beer when I drink.
And it just
when
unpaused itself.
When I play games. But my wife was talking to me. The Kinect picked up on her voice and restarted the game while I was in the kitchen.
Yeah, I've had that happen to me too. Yeah, I've actually paused YouTube videos and just had it sit there for a while, and it just decided to unpause on its own. No,
I guess it's a tough thing.
I've tried to talk to it. I've tried to use the keywords as described. I mean, I don't have the trickiest accent to understand.
That's one of the things that it touts, right? Is that you don't have to be, Bill Gates to make this thing work. You should be able to make it work in general. Like
but there's been a device in the past that have had a problem with voice things. Like my mom's from England, and like she's got a decently like English, she's from Liverpool, so the accent's there, but it's not the same. But her same thing with the iPhone and stuff can never recognize a fucking thing that she's saying.
Yeah,
right?
they program that. One thing that really indicates to me that they just haven't gone. They're not going full stop, but I don't think they're ever going to build up momentum on Kinect. Is I didn't realize. I have a good friend that lives in Ireland. They still don't have voice support for Kinect at all.
Yeah, and that's the thing.
That's fucking crazy.
It sucks for the grand scheme of things that it's so like region specific for those who it works great.
And I know that they're working on that stuff, but I mean, even then, like what? So all right, so seriously, Marcus, I want to hear what you think the Xbox One's going to look like in GameStop come Black Friday. Are we even going to see Kinect bundles, or are they going to have to be like? Are they going to be hidden behind the Call of Duty bundles? Is it going to be like only 4 per store? What do you think?
We will see Kinect on sale. Buy one, get 10 free.
Oh,
nice. Yeah, I like it. Like the family
Best Buy
Kinect.
will have everybody who lines up at Best Buy all across America for Black Friday. Everyone gets a Kinect.
Just slapping people in the dick with a Kinect. Take this home and plug it in.
Giving Kinects to people because they won't give them an Xbox, but they'll give them a Kinect.
I don't disagree with
That's funny.
anything any of you guys are saying. I 100% agree with what you guys are saying. My whole thing was just that I wish when Microsoft unveiled the King that they wouldn't tout it and they would just try and show people that it isn't really this gaming peripheral anymore.
Sure, and I
time
agree with
out,
you,
time
but it's
out,
too
time
late
There will
for
be
that.
games for it, but I just wanted them to show the benefit.
No, Rory, let
Time
Sean
out.
talk, man. You've been talking a lot.
Time out.
I'm drinking
Rory,
beers.
You should
I
be much more
completely
hungover.
disagree with you. One of the big problems everyone had with the Microsoft reveal was that they did talk about Kinect in ways that had nothing to do with games.
Yeah, pretty much.
And Yusef
TV.
Mehdi came out and did all that stuff with Kinect this, Kinect that, Xbox do this, Xbox do that.
That is true. You're right. That's why I got excited
all that
about
stuff.
it.
And I'll tell you what, I thought it was bullshit, and then I use it, and it's not bullshit. I don't use it for gaming and stuff, and I would never use it for gaming because I think motion controls are garbage. But like,
Yeah, and I agree.
and so I don't agree with that at all. I think they did do a good job telling you what the Kinect was going to do. I think pretty much. I mean, yes, you will hear like Marcus is not the first person I've heard say they have had terrible experiences with the Kinect, but there's people who have had good experiences with Kinect. But they did sell it on it. It's just that people. Here's the thing, it's not so much the Kinect. It's that people couldn't see the value in spending more on something that was essentially a peripheral packed into a box when they just want to play they just want to put the games in and play the game.
Yeah, and that wasn't an option at launch, which that's something they got right with the 360 last time around.
Yeah,
Wi-Fi,
Sean, you're right.
wireless controllers, all that shit. You're in a bigger hard drive. All that stuff was stuff you could buy on top of the base 360. It was one of the things that they did at launch last generation that they didn't do correctly this time around was they gave people options. This time around they were not about giving people options, and I think they had the right thought process to say, hey, if we give everyone a Kinect, then everyone will see, oh man, this thing works. But like you said, the value proposition just didn't make sense to the average consumer, especially with Sony cutting them off the knees with $100 less. But let's move on, please, for the love of God.
Okay.
Uh,
Well, Are we going to talk about our favorite things from Gamescom?
We can touch on predictions, or we can just skip that. I don't mind skipping it.
Not predictions. I want to talk about our favorite things from Gamescom.
Yeah, no, I would rather skip to that. Yeah, I would rather talk about that.
Because we didn't talk about Sony's press conference at all.
No, and this is where I want to go with this. Yeah, let's do it.
My favorite thing from Gamescom was Until Dawn. I mentioned it last time, and when I saw it, it was exactly what I wanted it to be. I'm a huge slasher fan. Like, I grew up with watching Friday 13th, you know, anything from like Friday 13th, Curtains, Final Exam, just anything with a slasher in it, I would eat it up. And this is a slasher movie as a game, and it seems like it's Heavy Rain with a slasher movie. Like, you could die and then the story continues. So that has me super excited more than any game that I saw at Gamescom.
Cool. So since you were on the Sony press conference, how'd you take it?
Like, you know, we talked about it a little bit in our little conversations that we were having, and I feel like Sony has a different approach than Microsoft. Microsoft is kind of trying to like rapid fire games, and Sony's always been a little more laid back. But in terms of content, I thought it was solid. I thought I saw so many good games. Wild looked awesome. Until Dawn looked awesome. Rime looked awesome. I mean, it's kind of all a blur now with all the other shit that's happened, but I thought they had a really solid conference, and they did talk about just games, and they talked about some really, really interesting games.
Okay. So I would agree that they did a few things, right? And I think the only critique that people really had for the Sony press conference was that it was a heavy lean on the indie games, and I don't think that was necessarily a problem because they were all high quality, very good indie games, right? But I think the expectations that people had going into Sony's press conference were not met, or at least were swerved, right? Like, people just didn't expect all this interesting new content to come out. So at first, I think a lot of the reaction was, oh man, you know, Xbox totally killed it or whatever. But when you go back and you do check out games like Rime and Until Dawn, and hell, the PT thing itself is probably one of the biggest stories other than the Tomb Raider announcement out of the whole conference itself. And, you know, Sony did a really genius thing by kind of not doing the obvious, you know, not bringing out Uncharted and stuff like that, which I think a lot of people gigged us on our predictions and said, why would they have done any of those things at Gamescom? And I would actually agree. I think Gamescom is big. It's huge, lots of people there, big, you know, a big audience, but it's not the place that you know, market and go all out and stuff. It's the place where you connect with your players, your install base. You know, you actually have people physically there playing the games, touching the controllers. You know, they're the ones in the audience that get all excited when they see something like Wild, you know, debuted and stuff like that. And I think those are things that probably wouldn't have gone off as well at E3, but because they were on stage with all the focus that everybody brought to Gamescom, they were given a much better reception, in my opinion. Rory, what was your favorite thing of Gamescom? And then, you know, kind of like what Sean just did, what was your take on the press conferences? What was your favorite one, so to speak?
Do I have a favorite Gamescom conference? I don't know. Like, I'm split on it in the sense that, like,
or you can just give your take on it. I guess you don't have to say a favorite.
I thought they both had a great show. Like, Microsoft, I thought had a really slick presentation. Like, the production levels and how they did their announcements was great. The shoutcasters coming out. They had good games I want to play. Quantum Break looks awesome. Below looks awesome. Super Hot. I don't know much about that game, but I am fucking intrigued. I just love that little teaser
that trailer. So, that was the worst trailer I've ever heard.
See, for me, it was.
Come on, Sean. Come on.
For me, it wasn't. For me, it was just outside the box enough that I was like, what is this? And I'm interested and I'm curious about it. Horizon 2 looks great. Sunset Overdrive looks great. Rime looks awesome. Like, I'm so excited about Rime. I'm a big Shadow of the Colossus and Ico or Eco or however you pronounce it. I can never get it right. Love that game. So Rime to me looked like the Wind Waker meets Ico or whatever it is, and I couldn't be more excited about that. Bloodborne I thought looked fucking fantastic. Silent Hills, I'm a huge survival horror fan, so Silent Hills, the whole reveal, what I got to see of that, really hyped on it. And Until Dawn, again, is like a slasher / horror fan, looks really interesting. I don't quite know enough about it, but what intrigues me is that it kind of, from the developer talk interview videos that I've seen, it kind of sounds like Heavy Rain in a sense, with just like, it doesn't end, right? Like, you start with these characters and some of them might die and some won't, and the story just continues.
Oh yeah.
And I really liked stuff like that. You know, it's like we're all having our own experience, and you know, it's again like Heavy Rain. Like my ending was a lot different than other people's endings, and some characters survived and some didn't. And I really like that type of stuff. And of course, Wild from Michel Ancel from Ubisoft, the Rayman guy. Anything that he does excites me. Wild looks great. I just don't really know what the fuck it is right now.
Yeah.
Aren't you
I'm
Canadian?
interested.
How do you murder names so bad?
What? It's Michel Ancel, isn't it?
Yeah, you said Michel Ancel.
It's all good.
Oh well, whatever. I've been drinking.
Yeah,
Tall
drinks
Boys,
do
guys.
that.
give me a break here. Give me a break. But anyway, I thought
Rory's going hard.
I thought they both had a great show. They both showed equally appealing yet different lineup for me. You know,
Cool.
Sony once again had these like really great mature sort of titles: Bloodborne, Until Dawn, Silent Hills again, and like the indie scene they got covered. But I thought Microsoft had a great indie scene showing as well. So I don't know. I'm torn. They were both great shows. I give them both
Cool.
a tie for different reasons. I'm excited for what's to come on both platforms.
So Marcus, what was your favorite thing of Gamescom? Probably favorite game, and what was your take on the press conferences themselves?
I thought anything on the Ouya was fantastic.
Yeah. I saw a lot of good reactions from that.
What?
What? Ouya? Hey, I'm still waiting for On Live to make a comeback. What can I say?
Yeah.
Look, I'll be honest.
Ouya gets
I
on live
did-
exclusively.
I didn't really bother getting out of bed for Gamescom coverage because I knew I'd catch the recaps towards the end of the day. But Microsoft and Sony both came and both did very good presentations that reinforce, perhaps what I said earlier, that 2015 is going to be a great year for games. There's a lot of great stuff coming. Do I have a favorite game? Well, I had a dozen favorite games coming out of E3, and considering pretty much all of them were shown again at Gamescom,
Same list.
you could pretty much use that that list. I mean, No Man's Sky is still one of my favorite games. Elite Dangerous, that is one of my favorite games. Yes, I am stoked for Sunset Overdrive. It wasn't the game I thought it was until I saw it in action, and I think it's going to be a buttload of fun. So there are a slew of games coming out, but I mean, for me, Gamescom is not. I was at E3. I got to play stuff. I got to see stuff firsthand. My balls are blue. They've been blue for a while. I think it's about time we got to the business of playing, because the teasing's gone on long enough. Every one of the console companies needs to start putting these games out. The publishers need to put this game out. What I'm saying is I can't wait for September to start so we can get on with the good stuff.
Cool.
Yeah.
Very cool. All right, so my take on Gamescom was it took me some time to kind of think about it and then go back and really look at things, because I was paying attention to the minutia. Like, I thought it was genius that Xbox started off with FIFA and just going like, hey, Germany, World Cup, guys, right? Am I right? I mean, that was good timing. You can't really, you couldn't even pay for timing to work out that way. It was great. It was really smart for them to start off with that. And then as time went on, I was just paying attention way too much. I didn't go back and just kind of look at it as what it was, as we just described it before, where this was a perfect time to kind of give games that would not have necessarily fit onto an E3 schedule this year or next year a really, really good spotlight. And from that perspective, I think it was a hit. To be honest, as we all know, I'm Mr. Xbox over here because I haven't had a PlayStation since 2002. Wild blew me away. Wild made me just drool for a half an hour. I saw that trailer and my mind just started racing oh, what is this? How does this work? What are you going to do with this game? And I just totally ate it up. And then looking at Rhyme, that kind of Rhyme makes me think of what I was trying to say earlier about what if games start doing, what if other developers start outdoing Nintendo at their own game, and you get something like a Wind Waker, but it's on a PlayStation platform. And I think Rhyme is a good indicator of like people getting closer to that bar, and people getting closer to at least tickling the funny bone that Nintendo tickles with their games. If you nail the gameplay and you get the good aesthetic, that's amazing. Like, that's incredible. So there was a lot of cool stuff, but I think overall for me, Gamescom was like a nice epilogue to this year's E3. I think it was a nice time to see all the stuff that just couldn't make it. I mean, it's very obvious. Microsoft was very vocal about the fact that, look, we tried to cram as much as we could on stage at E3, and anything that we couldn't get on there is you're going to see at Gamescom, and we did. We saw a lot more of Ori. People are getting their hands on Ori and the Blind Forest, and that's a really great thing. Any details about No Man's Sky are just, every time we hear another thing come out of that guy's mouth, people are just like, wait, what? The whole thing about, what is it, 500 billion years or whatever to explore all of every planet or whatever for a second. I mean, there's a lot of cool stuff.
Well, it all sounds like
Kerbobly,
right? But I'm getting excited.
Kerbobly, guacamole.
Oh, guacamole.
Yeah, so it's really cool. I think we saw some. I think we saw some interesting things. He's just catching up with what you just did.
No, I can't believe you say words.
What? I said hyperbole.
No, you said hyperbole or something. You throw like O's in there. You said porpoise and hyperbole at the same time.
No, I said Oh, I'm not even trying to repeat it now. Oh,
Anyways,
I thought it was continue.
I thought it was interesting.
Welcome to the show, Marcus.
I thought it was interesting to see stuff like DayZ and stuff like that coming to platforms. Like, we knew that was going to happen, but now we're actually literally seeing it happen with what was it? Smite, DayZ, and Goat Simulator. All things that are huge on Steam, or were like big hits on Steam last year or in the last couple of years. And we're now getting it to consoles, and I think that's just like, we already knew that was the trend. We already knew that was going to happen, but it's actually happening. Like, it's happening a lot faster than I kind of expected it to. And I think Gamescom is actually more of an indicator of what we're going to see with games in the future. Somebody pointed out, the BioWare thing with Shadow Realm. Okay, yeah. So we're already seeing a trend here. Evolve. What was it? Fable Legends and Shadow Realm, this new BioWare game, are all this 4v1 like asymmetric multiplayer thing. Like, we're already seeing trends so early in this generation that just clearly look like everyone's gonna hop on the bandwagon of all these trends. And that was really Gamescom for me. It was just seeing everybody kind of like, yep, we got ours too. Yep, here's our Smite, or here's our MOBA, or here's our console DayZ and all that stuff. So it'll be interesting to see what new things come at E3 next year. I think that's the thing that excites me the most, is we're getting all of these rehashes, all of these up-reses, all of these, they're consoles, but they're catching up to PCs with trends of free-to-play games and MOBAs and all this stuff, that we're like catching up with these new consoles. But I hope next year is the year that we start seeing things that we just have never seen before at E3. All right. I think that's wrapped most of this. I wanted to ask one more question. Since we got you here, Marcus, something happened today. Something happened like moments before we went live. And it's kind of interesting. And I really think you might have something to say about it. And now that you've had some time to digest some alcohol and ruminate on your thoughts on what happened before we went live, why don't you tell me what you think of Phil Fish?
All right, so look, let's put this in some context. Everybody knows I had a run-in with Mr. Fish about 14 months ago, and ever since then, I've been getting a couple of death threats a week whenever somebody watches Indie Game the movie.
Pretty standard.
So he came back from Twitter, back onto Twitter, and to be fair, he's been tweeting a lot this week about what's going on in Ferguson, which is actually very, very important. I mean, we all know what sort of mess that particular part of this country is in, and how it's a microcosm of what else is wrong with this country, to be honest with you. And he's doing a lot of very smart tweets, and he's putting out, relaying a lot of information to get people thinking, which I think is a very smart thing to do. However, he does have he does have this little demon inside him, and every now and again he will let the demon out, and the demon will say silly things. And today, a lot of people were asking, where's Fez 2? Because he's been tweeting a lot, and he basically responded with, "You don't deserve it."
That's his quote, right?
Yeah, which is not a great thing to the people who've put you in the position that you are. And look, I mean, this is the problem I had with him, just over a year ago, in that he makes games that people love. There is a hardcore of Fez followers out there. Well, he's worked on other games over the years, to be fair.
Okay.
That people have enjoyed. Fez was his solo effort, and it was a labor of love, and a lot of people liked it. It wasn't it wasn't my cup of tea, and a lot of people want to see a Fez 2. And I mean,
well, he announced it. I mean, there was a trailer.
He announced it, and then apparently I canceled it.
Oh yeah, that's right.
As people are fond of saying.
Damn you, Marcus.
Look, I mean, I've been trying to cancel Madden for the last 15 years.
You got to try harder,
yeah, I've got to try way harder. Look, I mean, I've got nothing against the guy personally. He just, he can have these moments where he's his own worst enemy, where he was 14 months ago, which got me into this original spat with him. I was responding to something he did, and so on Twitter, and how he responded to some people. And it's tough being in the public eye. It's tough having, he's got 40-odd thousand Twitter followers, and a lot of them want to see a Fez 2. So he can be he's his own worst enemy. And I think it's one of those things where he needs to step back. I mean, he needs to perhaps create a separate Twitter account for all things games, and then or for his personal things that interest him. So if he wants to put the more political stuff out there, talk about Ferguson, and people can appreciate it and follow that, and just keep perhaps another account for the game stuff. I mean, I hope that for the sake of his fans, he comes back and does Fez 2. And I've been saying this for a while because I think his fans want it and deserve it. But he is his own worst enemy when he comes and does things like this. I mean, sometimes the temptation to snap is really strong. The temptation to snap back at people when they goad or whatever. But from what I've seen today, people haven't been goading him. They've just been asking for a sequel to a game they love, which is not necessarily a bad thing.
I mean, he should have anticipated that. So I would agree. I think situations like this are why you see people use monikers. I mean, unfortunately, the Annoyed Gamer is not all you're known as. Everybody knows your name. But if you were only known as the Annoyed Gamer, like if you had a moniker, if you were, Seal or whatever, and that was all anybody knew you as, then kind of as you're out, or if you have a Facebook page or whatever, like people aren't just searching for that. They're looking for who's the Seal guy or whatever. And with Phil Fish, unfortunately, from the get-go, he's been known as Phil Fish. Like, that's who he is. That's his name. That he's raw and out there as himself. And unfortunately, what people forget is people are dumb. Like, people make mistakes. I make mistakes. I say dumb shit all the time. And if I was in front of like 40,000 people and I said everything I've ever said in private, 40,000 people would probably be not so happy with me. You know what I mean? Everybody's flawed, but unfortunately, you gotta know how to conduct yourself in public before you go into the public. I mean, that's just kind of how that works. You sign on to do a documentary. You should expect that a few people are going to see it. You're on a high-profile platform. You're making a game for the Xbox 360, bro. Like, you should expect that. I mean, if you want to develop for mobile games and just be the guy who made Flappy Bird and like no one's banging down your door, and you can just hop off Twitter and then you disappeared into the ether, cool. But if you're out there poking the bear and you're out there biting the hand that feeds you and you're saying audacious things, I mean, he's a smart guy. He knows when he says stuff that it's like, oh yeah, this will get him. Like, okay, well, when you get all spiteful in public like that, don't be surprised when it bites you back. And believe me, the public can be much more vicious than any one person could be. So you're never going to win that battle. So it is frustrating to see. But yeah, since this happened right before we went live, I wanted to see your take on it. Why don't we talk just real quick about, where that all stemmed from? You are the Annoyed Gamer. You were on game trailers for a long time. And then you did your own thing for a while there, and now you're at Screw Attack. Is that correct?
I'm partnered with Screw Attack. I've done a couple of things with them. E3 was really the first major collaboration. But yeah, look, I started off as a games journalist way back in the 90s. The first game I ever reviewed was Echo the Dolphin.
Oh,
so
shit.
I have been around this industry for a very long time. I was a journalist for a while, and you can actually find some of the TV stuff I did in the 90s on YouTube, which is really sad. But then I went off into public relations because the paycheck was way better. And I've worked on a number of games over the years. And I learned a lot in PR with regards to how the game industry works, how, sometimes it's better to work with small developers than it is to work in a big, conglomerate. I mean, I've worked for Ubisoft and I've worked for Vivendi. I launched Fear, I launched Ghost Recon.
Very nice.
And, I got out of games PR because, the industry has gone away from what attracted me to it a long time ago. Mm-hmm. It used to be fun. Everybody used to know everybody else. And then it started to, there was an influx of people who, I like to call this the EA effect, where, you'll get, an EA marketing director gobbing off, and, you can tell he doesn't play games.
Right.
And a lot of these people who've come into the industry was like, oh, video games are cool right now. Yeah, I'll get into that because I've got the business card now and I can say I work in games. And they don't have a shitting clue about the games they market or the competitors. When I was doing PR, and there were a lot of other people like this. I mean, Matt Ferrari, one of my oldest friends, he was a PR guy with me at Vivendi. We used to play not only all our games, so we knew our games inside out. We play our competitor games as well, so we knew what the strengths and weaknesses were. We were gamers. We did it because we loved the games. We loved talking about the games. But the industry moved away from that and became very corporate, and that's why I came back. And that's where Annoyed Gamer was born, because I saw the bullshit that was perpetrated in, under the guise of the games industry.
Right.
I saw people making decisions who shouldn't be near, they shouldn't be near a GameStop, let alone a games company.
Mm-hmm.
Now, did it become corporate because solely it became mainstream, or if it had stayed the smaller? Because when I grew up as a gamer, it used to just be it was all of us that legitimately just soaked up all this stuff. But now it's such a broad term in a sense, and gaming has become so much bigger than it ever was. Now, has it become what you say because of just the size of it, or if it had stayed a niche market in a sense that it was years and years ago, would it have still become this corporate thing that it is today? Or is that just solely because of it is now, gaming is technically mainstream now, right? It's a bigger business than the film business is.
Right.
It's the nature of any industry. You look at music in the 60s and 70s, and then what happened to music in the 80s and the 90s and today. Man. I mean, well, I know it's literally, I sound like a sad old hippie, but you look at the musicians who were actually that. They could sing without auto-tune. They could play a bunch of musical instruments. They wrote their own songs and their own music.
Pro Tools basically destroyed a whole mess of people's careers in the music industry. And then it's auto-tune has effed things up. And look, there are a lot of benefits to technology because people have been able to come along and be discovered via YouTube, with the exception of Justin Bieber, of course. The internet has allowed people to create their own games and be discovered that way, and the indie movement is very strong. And we're seeing this new level of indie development who are doing games that aren't just, oh, look, it's a retro feel to this niche game. It's a game that could put a AAA competitor to shame. So there is this kind of resurgence. So I think the games industry was always going to go this way because of what happened to the other, the movies, TV, and so on. It was always on the cards. It didn't mean I had to like it, though. No, for sure. So could you explain a little better, what you're going to be doing, like you were in between things there for a little bit, and I think a lot of people found you on YouTube and caught up with you. And I know I was I got you answered a question of mine one time on one of your Google Hangouts, and people were following you there, and then I saw that you had gotten back into Screw Attack, and that's why I started tweeting at you like, "Oh crap, you're a Screw Attack. That's cool." So you're partnered with them. You don't necessarily work for Screw Attack. Is that correct?
Look, I love the Screw Attack guys. I talk to Craig at least once a week, and we've been trying to figure out how to execute this.
Okay.
Whether it's just annoyed. I don't want to be just annoyed gamer.
Yeah.
I got into games because I love video games. I've been playing games since the late 70s with the old arcade machines. I bought my own first personal computer in 92, 93. It was a Sinclair Spectrum.
Oh, shit.
And I told my parents it was for my homework, but I bought it for games.
Nice.
On tape. That's what I did. So I'm not just a Annoyed Gamer. And what I'm trying to figure out right now is, where do I go next? Do I still do Annoyed Gamer? Yes. It's probably going to be early September, and it will be back. Let's face it, enough shit's happened in the last couple of weeks in particular to give me 3 or 4 shows. But I don't want Annoyed Gamer just to be, all right, where's my controversy of the week? I'm not Polygon. I'm not Kotaku.
Yeah.
I want to make sure that if Annoyed Gamer happens, it's an episode that happens because shit has gone south. But I also want to show off how much I love games. I mean, shit, I got a games room. I've got hundreds of games in my games room. I have got every console frickin' imaginable. I mean, I spend so much time playing games that, it's not even funny. And that's what that's the future for me.
An outlet to share your passion for games and your excitement for games, instead of always being the guy who shows up to rain on the parade. And I get that. So you said you're coming back with a vengeance after your vacation now, right?
Yeah, that's
so. Where can people look for you? Just screwattack.com, or should we be watching your YouTube channel?
I would say right now, just follow me on Twitter. I am at Annoyed Gamer. I'm going to be teaming up with my old friend Shane Satterfield from Game Trailers.
Oh.
He has a new site coming, and we are going. We've had some ding dong battles over the years, and we're going to be doing a new show together. That's basically going to be us arguing, I think.
Oh, cool.
And then I've there's a couple of other people I'm talking to. The YouTube thing is a lot of work, and I realize I don't have a lot of the technical skill sets to actually record and edit and put music on and stuff like that. I know what my strengths are, and I know what my weaknesses are. But yeah, follow me on the YouTube, on the Twitters rather.
Yes.
And there'll be a lot more information forthcoming when I get back from 10 days by the beach.
Awesome. Well, I look forward to that. I loved Shane. Wasn't he on the One Up Show back in the day? I feel like he was on One Up Show. If not,
No, that was Shane Bettenhausen.
Oh yeah. Okay.
Shane was the editor-in-chief of Game Trailers, so we were on Invisible Walls together.
Okay. Yeah, he can get a little snarky too sometimes. Yeah, that should be interesting. I look forward to that. That's right. Shane and you had a lot of fun back and forths on bonus rounds, so that'll be cool. Yeah, I've been wondering where the hell he's been too. All right, so
he's been taking some time off. That's all.
Yeah. Well, I think this is a good time for everybody to kind of take pause, because even though this generation has really gone off to a rocket start, I think next year, like we said before, is going to be, that's when things really kick into gear. All right, so Sean, you're with me over at We the Nerdy, right? I guess we could let everybody know that we're taking over there. I'm the new senior editor for We the Nerdy with the games section, and so I picked Sean to be one of my associate editors. So we'll be the guys that you can blame when there's typos and shit over at We the Nerdy. Hopefully we'll be resuscitating their podcast as well, or doing something about that, because the guy who ran it, he's got a lot of life and had going on for him right now, so we've had to kind of take over. So check out We the Nerdy to check out me and Sean. Sean, you want to drop your Twitter handle?
Sure. You can follow me at Twitter at N2N-Other. That's the letter N, the number 2, the letter N, the word other, all together at N2N-Other. And that's my PSN name, and that's my gamer tag. So if you want to send me a friend request, I got plenty of space. So, because now we can have thousands of people on our list. If anybody's interested, we're doing a second season of the Titanfall League. You can find the group on Facebook, Unlock Titanfall League. That it started as an extension of the Unlocked podcast fan group, and then we just kind of did because we found everybody who's really into Titanfall wanted to do this. The first season was pretty successful. It had its ups and downs, but not bad for the first season. And so yeah, we're starting that up in a couple weeks. So definitely look for us there if you're interested in playing Titanfall once a week for fun.
Nice,
like straight competitive gaming. So,
alrighty, and Rory. Hi,
what's up, everybody? you guys know where to find me if you've been watching for a little while. If you're new tonight, just tuning in, you can find me on Twitter at Red Eye Games Live, and you can find me on Twitch. More importantly, that's where I'm hanging out a bunch, at least every Tuesday for scheduled show at 8:30 p.m. Pacific, but also random streams throughout the week. And end of August, beginning of September, that will be a 5 nights a week type thing. Each night dedicated to a platform of choice, all the way from the NES up until modern consoles. So hope to see you there. I'll drop it both in the Twitch chat, and follow on both of them, or else.
Or else. And hi, I'm Drew. If you tuned in after we got started, I have a Twitter. I'm going to drop it in the chat right now. It's at Drew_Freeman85. If you want to join me on Twitch, it's /Truthfor1985. I broadcast there once in a while. Basically, if you follow any of us on Twitter, you'll be able to really keep up with what we're up to. I do all kinds of crazy stuff. So, go support We the Nerdy if you can. It'll help us. It'll at least help me and Sean be cool like Rory and go to E3 next year, hopefully. And pop our cherries over there. Well, no, Sean, you've been, haven't you? You've been to E3, right? Sean?
Yes, I will answer that for Sean. He has been to E3.
Okay, so then I just need my cherry popped, and then we'll all be good.
I will gladly be there when you pop it.
All right, good. Thanks, man.
Camera in hand.
So thanks to everybody for tuning in live. Don't forget you can be part of the live discussion here with us every Sunday night at 8 p.m. Eastern on Twitch. We broadcast live Twitch TV. Man, I'm all over the place right now. Twitch.tv/ratedm for podcast. If you miss a live show and you can't tune in live, we also archive this video at youtube.com/ratedm for podcast, and you can find us on iTunes. I believe we're working. Oh, we just got put up on a Windows Phone. Believe it or not, people were really clamoring for that, and we're pretty much anywhere you can find podcasts. If you need to physically, manually put us into your podcast feed, you can grab the URL from our Twitch page. We have all the links out to everything there. We'd love you to be part of our community. Follow us on Twitter at RatedM Podcast, and like us on Facebook. So I think that's going to wrap the show, guys. Marcus, thank you so much for joining us tonight, man. Seriously.
Thank you for having me. I very much appreciate that.
This was a blast, and we hope you have a safe and awesome defrag on your vacation. And
it'll be a great time.
Yeah,
I'm looking forward to it.
And Marcus, from me, I just wanted to say, in my living room right now, it's a scene from Wayne's World when Wayne and Garth are on the floor. We are not worthy. We are not worthy. That's what I feel like tonight, man. So honestly, from the bottom of my heart, man, thank you for showing up tonight. It's been a blast.
And you know what? You're totally right.
Yes.
Alrighty.
I'm kidding. No, seriously, thank you. I appreciate the opportunity to come on and be able to talk about the shit that we love. Yeah, I know I go off and rant about stuff, but it's there's a line I like to say that's from Grosse Pointe Blank with John Cusack. Great movie, and he says basically, if I come to your door, chances are you've done something to bring me there, and that's why I rant, because people have done something, they deserve an ass kicking.
So we look forward to seeing what you do next, how the rest of your year is going to go. And I just look forward to, seeing this thing with Shane and all that stuff. I think that sounds pretty awesome. I know that's going to be a lot of fun. So thanks again for tuning in. Thanks everybody for joining us live, and we will see you guys next week.